This is a tutorial on the STEARsoft Cloud Server for administrators to get you started. When you sign up, you'll receive an email with this sort of information. The key link is this web address here. So let's put that in a web browser. And this lets me set up my password. The account name is the one that you chose. It's been set up for you, but we need to put in account activation code. So that's in this email as well. Copy that, paste it in and choose a password. So continue to the welcome screen, and we're going to set up some things as the administrator first. So let's go to the administrator login. So let's put in our username, which was demo. Let's remembered some of that from a previous tutorial I did. And let's tick the box to remember those details. There we go. Now with the two-factor login, I need to, what's that, 935445. 935445. So an email got sent to me, and I had to enter the code. So that's the second factor. Right, so this date is when your students get promoted from one year group to the next in England. August 1st is pretty good in the UK. You could read more of the previous bit if needed be. Remote upload setup, that's a more advanced thing if you have data that you want to synchronize to STEARsoft from an existing database, but let's skip that. You can have more exciting things, but let's have 1 week. When setting this up, if you're not sure what sort of things to put in, there's an example at the bottom. If you don't like the example, you can blank it again, but the example is quite a good starting point. Let's have AM and PM for morning and afternoon. That was my phone coming in with that same email, a bit slower than on the computer. Right, let's save that data. You can have houses, let's skip that. You can have forms. Oh, I've skipped the whole setup. Maybe I wanted to go back to houses. Let's have a look at that. So it was going through various things here. House names. Instead of skip setup, let's just skip this step. Form names, let's skip that as well. Data control and locks. You can read this. Basically, we're going to tick that, which is given some options here. Also, for extra security, I'm going to tick these two things. Save. And on this screen, customize options, I'm going to go for our suggestions. And let's save those options. Right, now ready to add some teacher accounts. Right, let's find some teacher accounts. Here they are. You can type them in, but if you've got a spreadsheet within them with details, much easier to copy and paste. You can copy and paste CSV information as well, so it understands that as well. Either's fine, so just paste it in here, next, and then we can tidy up and tell STEARsoft what things are. So that first row we don't want, so we're going to exclude that first row because they're my headings. This is the username. Actually, not the username, it's the actual name. The username is this column. These personal details I don't want, and I don't want those, so exclude those columns. And this is the email. Let's go to next. Looks good, username, the actual name. Next. Finish. So I've added all those users. Let's assign passwords. Here's some details, you can review that. That's basically setting up some security information. But here's the key thing. This is me at the moment as I've logged in. My password's already set. These are the extra users that I've added. So I'm going to select all that haven't got a password. So select all with no password. So it doesn't include me because I've got my password. And I'm going to send all those ticked ones an account activation code. I'm going to send that by email. So all these users will get account activation codes like in the message I first showed at the very beginning of the tutorial, so that they can log in to their new accounts. Okay, so those emails have been sent. Right, return to the parcel. Let's go carry on here. So this is my main administrator page. From here I can log into STEARsoft. I can set up notification things. This is now in the main STEARsoft.co.uk website. This is managing my account. So here I can extend my license. I can access the forum to make a post or review and find any information, or I can log out back to where I was. Anyway, if you purchase a license through logging in and purchasing there, then when you come back here you need to activate the license, which downloads any license that you have onto your cloud server. So you click that, does that, continue. I've activated my license there. Right, so I've got my teachers here. I'm an administrator. I've set up some teachers. Now, I've kind of got the basics there, but let's do a little bit about how STEARsoft is used and how you might set up some initial classes and things like that. So, you can do it in different ways, but a good way of working is to first of all set up a central student list, and that was one of the boxes we ticked on earlier on. So here's my central student list. It's empty at the moment. Let's add some students. So add some students, and again let's have some existing data which we can copy and paste in. Here we go. Some demo names, some randomly generated names with some randomly generated forms and things. How much we have? Oh, let's not go overboard. Let's have a couple of hundred. Copy those, Control C, Control V, paste them into there. Next. Again, there was a first row was column heading, so let's exclude that and then tell STEARsoft what these are. So that was first name, next column is surname, this is year group. I'll ignore that. This was house, except we've not set up houses, so let's not worry about any of those other bits. So let's exclude forms because that's going to be ignored as well. And then next. Right, so this can review what I've done. Houses, that's what it's read in. If I actually had some houses to pick from, it would match and it would select the appropriate one here, but I haven't got year group. You can have preferred names as well. Yeah, so maybe this is Ollie, and you can import that column as well if you've got that. You can import dates of birth, but if you don't really need those, then maybe it's best not. There is a feature on the iPhone though that students with a birthday are highlighted, so you can see whose birthday it is, which is sometimes quite nice to know. Right, it's going to create new records with all this data. If I subsequently try and upload new students, it will match with existing students and give me prompts to merge with the existing data rather than just creating new. But this is the only option here really, other than to ignore what you don't want to do. Let's finish, and there we go. I've now got a central student list. Now all this is like a list of students. It's nothing more than that. Yes, they've got a house or form tag, but that's really just to help you organise and select from them later. But from this student list, it's created some IDs. If I didn't put them in, those are generated for me. And now if teachers always select from this central list, then if different teachers have the same student, it will automatically be all matched up and do some neat things with reporting and other things and sort of analysis of your data. So it's good to have a central list, and also if you've got a mistake, someone's with the data entry, someone's got their name spelt incorrectly, you can change it once in the central list and then propagate that change out to all teachers so everyone's data is updated and kept consistent. Right, but this now leads us to the next bit. Let's go back to the main administrator page. The way STEARsoft works is actually the data is teacher-centric. It tries to mirror what you probably traditionally did with paper. So the data, your class lists and your attendance registers will actually be held within your teacher accounts. They're not central and just have teacher logins to look at it. They're held within a teacher account. So Demo Teacher 1 will traditionally have their own timetable, they'd have their own classes, and so imagine them having their mark book or attendance book, physical paper thing. In that they'd have their attendance sheets, their timetable and those sorts of things. So that information sits with a particular teacher. Now you may think, well, that loses the opportunity for sharing that information. Well, no, because once it's in here under a teacher, if you're a different teacher, you can then ask to, or not ask, but you can just go in and see the data for the first teacher. There are some permissions that work around that, so let's have a look at that while we're here. So edit class access rights. So class access rights, so classes are the list of students, and the access rights of whether you can read or write to them. And this introduces the next important concept. So priority classes and regular classes. Now priority classes are those classes that you take morning and afternoon registration, your kind of legal type attendance state that says whether someone is in the morning or in the afternoon. Now with STEARsoft, normally those are actually taken, but they can be automatic. But you probably need to have a look at a future tutorial for that. I'm not going to get into the details of that here, but it can be a kind of virtual attendance session that doesn't actually happen, but then it picks up the data from the first time that those students are registered in other classes subsequently through that morning or afternoon. Anyway, we were looking at access rights. So we can set up the access rights for our morning and afternoon important registrations, and we can set them up separately for other classes. So if you've got a math class or a music class in the middle of the morning that's you might want to register for your teacher's own records, if nothing else, that can happen, and it can be kept separate with separate access rights. So this is the default access rights when creating new classes. Okay, changing this doesn't change the current access rights, it just changes what will be prompted when you create new classes. If you want to change the current classes as well, you can tick this one and you can update the current access rights to be what we're setting here. But we're just setting up the new ones for the moment. So this is the default. But maybe you want your, well, what are these? Power teachers and other teachers. So this is for a teacher's classes. This means that other teachers, not the one who owns the class, but other teachers can look at the register, so they can see who you've marked present and absent, not just for today, but your whole attendance sheet. If I tick this, it means that other teachers can not just see the attendance sheet, but they can actually mark the register. And that might be quite useful if you want to let your other teachers cover attendance sessions, registration periods for other teachers. Doing that will let anyone mark anyone else's register. If you want to keep it tighter than that, then don't do that. You've also got power teachers, and maybe you want only power teachers to be able to cover attendance registers, or maybe guests are going to be your cover teachers and they will have right access. It's up to you how you set it up. Anyway, power teachers, STEARsoft automatically has them with some extra privileges, and we'll look at some of those in a minute, but you can set up separate access rights here. So these are typically the people that are on your front desk or heads of year or administrators, people that might be putting in extra information and annotating your registers with codes when they find out why students are not present, or future or past or current. Anyway, enough of that. You can set those up and we'll save those changes and be done for the moment. Right, so we store our data within our particular teacher accounts, and then other teachers will be able to access that. So I need to, as an administrator, go in. If I'm going to be really nice and not expect the teacher to do it themselves, I'm going to go into a teacher account. So I'm going to pretend to be that teacher, and you can do that if you're the administrator. You can do that. Before we do that, let's make one of these teachers, not just a teacher. Let's edit them so that they are our power teacher. Save. So demo user 1 is going to be a power teacher. Now I'm going to log in as this teacher. How do I do that? Well, I pretend to set their password, but here I can log in as this user just by pressing this button. Great. So I'll now be logged in as the above user. Continue. So let's add a class for this teacher. Let's give it a class name. Let's say 9F, for example. Group 9, and let's make it a priority class. Let's make it a morning and afternoon class, and see how the access rights picked up the defaults that we just recently put in. Add class. Here's the class that I've added. I could add others at this point, but one class will do. Let's add some students to the class. Right, now once this gets up and going, once you've started adding classes, if I add a class, which I'm about to do, then another teacher, when they're adding their class, if they happen to teach the same class, they can just say, well, I want to pick up the class that's already with a particular teacher and just grab that class as it is. Anyway, we're going to take students from the central student list as a starting point anyway, so let's take the ones that are in year 9. If I had house and form group information, I could filter that if that was going to be useful, but anyway, let's see. So this is a list of all my students in year 9. I could select the ones I want to import, or actually I could just have them all. There's not many here. Import those. So I've now got my class 9F. Notice I've got lots of students, but there are no attendance sessions. Let's go back home. So I'm going to enter a timetable. Let's put in my students. A lot of this you can do in the iPhone or iPad app as well. Once you got to this stage, you could set up synchronizing. Let's save those. It's now prompting me to make registers. Okay, so the timetable I've got is just like I've written it on a piece of paper. It's nothing more than a record of what my timetable is. It's not actually created anything. It's like in my paper, go back to that concept, it's like I've written my timetable on the front page. What I now want to do is create the attendance sheets within my classes that I can then mark attendance on. So I'm going to make my registers. So in the days of paper registers, getting this done automatically for you was great. People kind of expect it now, but there we go. New terms. Alright, so I've got to have some term dates. Of course we do. We need some dates to know when to do the registers. And new terms can only be added by a power teacher. But I am a power teacher, so let's go to the settings tab. And because I'm a power teacher, under the settings tab here, I've got some power teacher options. And one of these is term dates. Add a term. Let's have a demo term. Now we could go from today, but let's backdate it a bit to show you how that works as well. So let's go beginning of June to, I don't know, 25th of July. It's a bit late, isn't it, for a term end, but it's not realistic, is it? Now you could add holiday dates on this as well. So we could add the 2nd of July as a holiday, or you could use this to do a period, like for a week or something. Anyway, let's add that. I don't need to add another term, one's enough. Continue to the settings page. Right, so I've done that term dates. Let's go back to where we were. So back to home. I can now do my make registers thing, and it's even prompting me to do it. Ensure my timetable is correct. Yes, I think my timetable is correct. I'm going to do this. Right, I could just press that, but let's show some details. It's going to do it for 9F. I'm going to use my timetable to automatically create attendance sessions for the classes selected in all terms. That sounds good. From today onwards, I want to backdate, so let's go for all dates and without overwriting existing attendance data. Now, I haven't got any existing attendance data, but that's probably sensible to have there. In case I did, I wouldn't want to overwrite it. Create now. That just tells me what's been created, every single attendance time, and just go to the home page. So I've still got my timetable here, but I've got some flashing exclamation marks, which tells me there are some attendance sessions that I've not marked attendance for. So I could click here, any of these 9Fs, take me to the same place. It doesn't take me to a particular day, it just takes me to, going back to the paper analogy, the page in my book with the 9F attendance register. So let's click on that, and here's my page. What it shows is the current week and the previous 2 weeks. So the previous 2 weeks, because if you're needing to follow up on what might have happened, it's useful to see that. So how do we take the register? We just click and it marks people present. If I want to mark people absent, click twice. Twice for absent, once for present. And if someone turns up late, then just click a third time and it cycles on to late. That's a clock at the beginning of the time session for late. If I click again, there's a clock at the end as well, so that means they left the session early. And if I click again, the clock's only at the end, so they left the session early, but they did arrive on time. Now, for AM, PM registration, maybe this is not what you necessarily need, and you can actually switch that off for AM and PM sheets if need be in one of the other settings. But for regular classes, it's quite useful actually to know if someone left your lesson early, so they weren't there at the end of your lesson. If you're looking back and you think, oh, why didn't they get that bit of homework down or something, maybe there's an explanation there. Anyway, putting in these, well, maybe I want to just say the rest are present. I only know that person's absent, the rest are present. This box at the top is a flood fill. It does everything that you've not already done, so all present. Or if everyone else was absent, I can press it again, it just cycles through everyone else is absent. Or that's the no session. I could delete the thing. Nothing's done, even the deleted one, until I press save. So let's go to that and then let's press save. This red box up here, and there's another one at the bottom. Press save, and that goes green to say that I've saved the information. Now notice there's lots of blank entry. This is a kind of message box that automatically tells you things that you might need to be aware of. It's telling me there's lots of blank entries. That's because I've got lots of historical attendance sessions that I've not marked data for, and that's if I come back to the home thing, that's what these flashing exclamation marks are for. Now, although teachers will be bothered about this, there's one thing you probably would like to know, and that is that when marking this, you can use the keyboard as well. So if I click the date at the top here, or if I right click in a particular box, it can take me straight to a box. But if I click the date, it goes to the first student. Let's put it on my other page. There it is. And it's got a pop-up, and okay, I can tick this auto move on box, and then I can do present and absent, and it's going through the register. But now I can do it without clicking. I can just use the keyboard. P for present, P, 0 for absent, O, L for late. So I can quickly go through with P's and O's. There are other keys as well. Look in the help. So that's the. Oh, it's still going because there's more below. And then when I get to the end, it's gone. So there we go. Now let's save that. Lovely. What you can also do with the keyboard is put in notes. Now you saw if I bring up a particular one, James, if I right click on that, I get this pop-up box again, and I can attach a code F, and I could put in a written note. Maybe we can have H, and we can put holiday approved. I've not spelled that right, have I? Well, holiday approved. So it's now gone yellow to show that I put a note in, and there's an H in the circle. The codes are independent of the attendance date. So notice I marked them absent, and then when I found out about it, I put in the H. Equally, if you know about it in the future, I mean I'm putting it in the past, but it could be in the future. I can say, well, I know about holiday, let's put that in. Holiday. Now, doing that repeatedly would be a bit tedious, so you can click and drag, and you can do a whole block. Okay, let's say they were off ill, note, given, save that. Okay, and it's put a note in on the first one, and I've got eyes all there, and then, or maybe we find out that they are actually ill, so I can then press the absence thing. There we go. Let's save all that. Wonderful. So you've got keyboard, and it's really to look like a traditional register and to mark it like you would a traditional register. So let's go home, and let's finish being this teacher for the moment. What we've done, I've logged out, returned to administrator area. So we logged in as demo user 1, we set up their timetable, we added their classes, lovely. I can go in as demo user 2, and I can add a class, and supposing it's 9 maths, year group 9, it's not a priority class, add class, okay, add students, and now in this area, in year 9, it's already noted I've got 9F with demo 1 user. I can just import from there. There we go. Let's import all those students, and I've got that class. So that's showing how I can set that up from an existingly created class. So once you've got some initial classes, it's then quite quick to progress. Right. As this teacher, I can go into the all school data bit. This is for looking at other people's information, the all school information. And the main view here shows today's kind of counters. So it would show all the classes arranged by year group, and I've got a summary view of who's not in school. Helpful. Okay. I've got a print option here which will format it to go to the printer and automatically send it to your printer with page breaks per year group. So again, that's useful for emergency situations. Let's go back. Notice here there's some information. This is giving a heads up on if a student is hitting certain thresholds. You know, remember we put that holiday and that illness streak in. Well, there's various things here on the 2-week and on the 10-week. The percentage rate's gone above certain things. There are 2 levels. You can set them. The first level, it just shows it. The more serious level, it highlights it, and you can click on it and see, well, 8 out of the last 22 sessions. That's what that relates to. Now, to change those, you go to settings, and there are these thresholds here. Okay. Anyway, that was all school data. I can also view a teacher timetable. So as this teacher, I can look at my demo 1 teacher's timetable, and then I can click on the class, and I can take the register. Or back on here, actually there was a link straight to that register there, so I could do it like that as well. And so if you're the person in the office, overseeing everything, you've got a list of all the classes there. You can see who's absent, and then if you get something in, you can just click on the relevant class and put it straight in. Now let's put another absence in here. Let's put an absence in here. Save that. Now that's not got a absence schedule. Let's go back in there. I probably want to be the actual teacher concerned. Finish being that teacher. Let's go in as the teacher who belongs to that class. Continue. So let's go to my 9F class. The other teacher put it in, and there it is, that absence. Now down here, this will become a bigger, more useful list. It basically lists in an organised fashion all the outstanding absences that haven't got a code. Okay, and there's a link there. If I click on it, it jumps to the relevant week. So if it was at an earlier time, it would jump to the appropriate time. Up here, you can probably see it's gone for the 25th, the 6th, which is up here. I'm going on and on and on, aren't I? I probably could stop there. You've seen quite a lot. Let's finish that. Return to the administrator area. You've got an idea that we set things up within the teacher classes. You have power teachers, you have normal teachers, you have priority attendance data. So when we were looking, and I can look now as well, just as myself as a teacher, when I'm looking at this screen, this is my priority classes, so this isn't cluttered up with every class, it's just my AM and PM classes. If I want to see everything, I've got a little link up here. I can show all the registers, and that will show the ones in between as well. And I can jump to other days if I want to be historical with this kind of view, or I can go to a particular register to see historical things. If you're an administrator and you want to come out of your kind of teacher area, there's a little cross up here, up in this corner. Click that, that takes us back to here, and then I can go into the administrator area. So data is centered around each teacher accounts, but you can look at things as teachers. There's all sorts of other reports and things. How do you get to those? Again, from the teacher area. In the all school data, if you go to the counters bit, then there's various things that you can do there, but we'll look at another tutorial for the information you can extract from that. I think that'll do. Okay, so thank you for listening. I hope you find STEARsoft to be a useful tool. Do please give us any feedback you have. Always good to hear from people. The forum's a good way to feedback that information, or if you've got any problems or anything you think could be added as an improvement.